it up.
Sometimes I focus too much on the fact that I'm a black dancer. But that's so much of who I am, and I think it's so much a part of my story. Just making it to this level, I think, no matter what race you are or what gender, is a huge accomplishment. I don't think that people realize what a feat it is, being a black woman. If they were to, go back and read that there's never been a black principal woman at the Royal Ballet, at the Paris Opera Ballet, at the Kirov Ballet, in the top companies in the world, in New York City Ballet, in New York City, I don't think people really understand that. You good?
Yeah. Okay.
I'm good. You coming tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, come.
Whichever one.
You good though?
Getting better. Yeah.
Taking
I did before my embark.
Good.
So nice to see you too.
She just got injured. It sucks. This is it. I've been coming here since I was 16 to these exact studios. This is Paloma Herrera in the part of Gonzati in the Bayadere, and I do this role now, which is so exciting. I premiered it 2 years ago, and I'll do it again this Met season. This is like where we have our rehearsal schedules, where they put up casting when it's time. there's usually like a basic casting book. It's like this big book. It's like the Bible. And it has like what parts you're learning, like you're understudying. And so you have to like go back to that and then think, oh, what part am I understudying? And then you have to check. And it's like, oh, all U's and alts, like understudies and alternates have to come. And sometimes you're not called. It's just confusing. And it took me so many years to like feel comfortable and not like be on edge. Every morning I come in early. I'm usually I'm alone, no one's here yet. I move the bar over myself, which is heavy, and I put it right here, and then this is my spot every morning. Like if I take class in here, this is exactly where I stand, because then I can see myself in that mirror from the front, and I can see myself in that mirror from the side, which is nice to be able to like see all angles of yourself when you're working at the bar, to see, you know, if my leg is in front of me, if my leg is behind me, I can see all of that from the side, make sure that everything is like exactly the way that it needs to be. So I'm a crazy perfectionist. So this is my spot. And sometimes like someone will get here first and then they take your spot and you're like, oh, stand behind them today.
Every great ballet dancer, male or female, at one point ends up dancing at ABT, or at least desires to dance at ABT.
It was founded in the belief that we could emulate Russia and France in terms of having a world-class ballet company. They perform at the Metropolitan Opera House, which is considered, bar none, the most important stage in the world.
I was definitely, for the majority of my childhood, in underprivileged communities and struggling in terms of money. I was one of 6 kids. I was very shy and definitely was the one in the family that blended in with the background, because everyone was fighting for attention in some way. I was introduced to ballet at 13, and it was just this instant connection. I felt that I could really say something. I felt like I belonged and that I had a voice. I started to develop ways of critically thinking about things, which I never had to do before. I had to make decisions on how I was going to approach a step, or using parts of my brain and my body that I hadn't used before.
The competition is Misty Copeland.
Mackenzie approaches me and says, well, you're going to join the studio company, but before your contract starts, we would like for you to come on tour with the main company for 2 weeks in China. And that was just like, oh my God, like it's happening. It's like seeing The Turning Point, the movie, and it's happening to me right now. On that trip to China, I think it was in New York, like right before we left, that I met Layla, my best friend.
So right away we clicked and we got along and we were rooming together and we became the best of friends. We just did everything together and we kind of had like this camaraderie. We would take trips to Red Lobster in Brooklyn because at the time they didn't have one in Times Square.
We would get on the train and travel to go to some Red Lobster. And sometimes if Red Lobster was closed, we'd go to Sizzler that was like next door. I don't know what it was, but like we loved it. And then when that Red Lobster opened up in Times Square, we were like, yes!
When you're in your adolescence and you're dancing, you don't get to experience what normal kids get to experience. You don't date, you don't go to parties, you don't hang out. As soon as school's over, you're going straight to practice and to dance class.
That was around the time that I first was being told to lose weight by ABT. And I had no idea how to handle that. I mean, I never had to watch what I ate. Like, I had no idea how to take care of my body. It was just naturally the way it was. And it worked for ballet until I hit puberty, and then it all changed.
This skinny ideal that a lot of contemporary audiences associate with ballet today is strictly a modern phenomenon, and it can actually be dated to 1963 when George Balanchine was able to start creating the ballet and the ballerina according to a vision he had, an ideal vision he had of a dancer. Post Balanchine, you get these very emaciated body types, and you get no longer a woman on the stage. You get these prepubescent girls, flat-chested, encouraged not to eat to the point of not being able to menstruate, and that has created a huge, I think, problem in ballet. It literally has killed ballerinas, and actually doesn't need to exist at all.
It all kind of hit me at once. Moving to New York, realizing I was the only African-American woman in a company of 80 dancers. I felt like I was sinking for a while. I felt alone in a world that had become my home, and it gave me mixed feelings. I was coming home at night and just feeling so bad about myself, and I would call Krispy Kreme, and they told me they only delivered to like big corporations. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'm a corporation. Can I have 2 dozen donuts? And they'd drop them off, and I would eat a dozen donuts in one sitting. I was overeating because I felt so bad about myself. I just started this pattern of like feeling so ashamed that I didn't even want to come to class in the morning. I didn't want to stare at myself in the mirror.
I first became aware of Misty Copeland when she joined the company, the Corps, and I would see her in performances, and she always stood out. She had what you can't teach and you can't learn. She had stage presence, and she had a fire that the other Koreans did not. Kevin Mackenzie, the artistic director of ABT, had said to me from the very beginning when I first mentioned how much I admired Misty, that he felt she had the talent to go the distance and to go all the way. The executive director said to me, but there's an issue. We feel that she has all this promise, but she lacks a bit of focus. And everybody adores her, but she is doing some things that stand in her own way. They did something unprecedented, which is they said to me, would you please take her under your wing? We would like you to spend time with her. We would like you to become her confidant. or her consigliere rather, because we feel she's got everything that it takes and she just needs that older woman who can help her. I began introducing her to women I knew who had been the first, whether it was Diane Carroll or Veronica Webb, who was the first Black model to have her own cosmetics contract. Women who had blazed trails to help her understand that she had this same potential, to give her a kind of kitchen cabinet of women who could help her face these hurdles, because as much as she was beloved in the company and she was everybody's Misty, she felt very alone and she felt a lot of self-doubt. And as we began this process, and we were having all our discussions at ABT about diversity, one of the things I had said was, it's only a matter of time before a very ugly article hits the papers about the lack of diversity in ballet, because it's going to be noticed, and we're in the new millennium. We're not in 1952, and we still look like the Alabama Country Club in 1952. Sure enough, in the spring, an article was done saying, where are the Black ballerinas? And it was the front page of the Arts and Leisure section. New York City Ballet was lambasted, and we were lambasted. And Misty called me crying. She was crying, and she was saying, I look at this and I think, why am I even bothering? Why am I doing what I'm doing? There's no hope.
I can tell you that I have been writing about this idea of the color of ballet since at least the late 80s. In fact, I have a story from 1990. I just kind of refreshed myself with just to see what has changed, what has stayed the same. And I would say that, unfortunately, a lot has stayed the same. It is still a ballet blanc, so to speak, you know? It's very difficult to see people of color adopt major roles in the classical repertoire.
And on my pas de parade with arms. And round the gate. Piqué through. The color of the skin is obviously a very important aspect that is kind of taboo. It's about casting. Can you be soft and lovely, or do you have to be strong and sexy? You would make a black dancer just that sexual, you know, vivacious dancer. But there's also other roles that you're growing up as a little girl watching Giselle or watching these more ethereal ballerinas, which you can do, but the color of your skin, they tend to not let you do those ballets.
Classical ballet is all based on these fairy tale stories many times. And so if you don't see a black dancer or a stocky dancer as someone who looks like a fairy, then you're not going to be casted in that role. Which is like, well, who defines what a fairy looks like? Isn't it a mythical creature?
I wouldn't go in the sun when I was little. When I was dancing, I was no sun. You can't get any sun because you have to be as pale as possible. Like that paleness was such a big thing.
The aesthetic of the body is so important in ballet, and there's, I think George Balanchine, and forgive me if I'm, I'm not going to quote him, but I believe George Balanchine said something to the effect of, the skin of a dancer should be that of a freshly peeled apple. And I'm not that. I turn more into, I'm the shade of a chestnut come summertime. So we got to figure this out. Every dancer that goes through the process the way I did, through the school, through the company, you audition, you're a snowflake for Nutcracker, and you're selected after you do a season of Nutcracker and you get into the company. In my case, that was not the case. I saw my friends, it was like my car was going 5 miles an hour and everyone else was going, 75. And I saw my friends just getting into the company. They were all snowflakes. And I was sitting on the sidelines melting. My spirit melting. My esteem melting. I had done all this hard work. And why wasn't I a snowflake?
I'm a upon ballet the way I look upon the symphony orchestra. They are some of the last bastions of white supremacy. And what's interesting is, if you would talk to these artistic directors of these ballet companies or the conductors of they don't know, that's the problem. They don't realize that they are at the service of, they are the lackeys of racism.
I feel like a lot of the time what I'm being judged on is my aesthetic. And it may not be said, but I feel like a lot of the time I don't think that the classical ballet world will ever accept me because I'm something different.
What you're looking for in ballet is assimilation and uniformity. Okay, even for a soloist who's doing a solo, I mean, it's kind of still in this uniform. It's not, I hate to say it, but I don't feel like ballet, even with the best of choreography, is so much about individual creativity or showing the individual. That's an issue for Black ballerinas in terms of like fitting into the mold, fitting into the box.
I think that people do make judgment based on maybe something they're not even consciously aware of. And it may be the fact that I'm Black, maybe the fact that I have a large chest, and maybe the fact that I'm muscular. They're reaching for change in the classical ballet world because they think the art form is dying. But if there isn't change, how can it continue and grow? I think there has to be change happening.
Just over the course of a couple of years, there began to be a change. Kevin McKenzie said to me, she's carrying herself differently. She is never late. A focus happened.
When she realized that she could represent something even bigger, not just a talented dancer who happened to be African American, but a talented dancer who you can be like this too. Like it's okay for you to do ballet. It can be cool. Your body type isn't going to hold you back. You can still become this beautiful dancer. I think when she realized that she had that opportunity to do that, it became less about just herself and more about what she can do to change the world.
There's a private moment that's my favorite moment, which is the day she called me to say that she had been promoted. And we're both just crying on the phone because there it was.
When she first called me and told me, oh my God, I'm going to be the Firebird. Now, again, I'm not the ballet expert, so I don't know what the Firebird is. So Raven Wilkinson, who I'm sure she's told you, the legendary ballerina, I called Raven because Raven's my history monitor. And I said, do you know if a black woman has ever performed Firebird, the Firebird? And she said, well, yeah, Dance Theater of Harlem. I said, no, at one of the majors like City Ballet, American Ballet Theater. And she said, no. I said, well, guess what? You got to buy a ticket when they go on sale because Misty's going to be the Firebird. And she said, which one? She said, which one? And I said, no, the Firebird. She said, the Firebird? Yes, yes.
The Firebird is one of the modern masterpieces, both from the music standpoint and the choreographic standpoint, and it was being reset by Alexei Redmansky, who's widely hailed as the sort of Balanchine, the great choreographer, the great ballet innovator, the man who's going to save ballet from obsolescence, and he adores Misty.
I spent I think it was 2 weeks in the studio just having Firebird created on me, which is really cool. Alexei came in with an idea, but he allowed us to be a part of the creative process. So if he saw that, I was attempting to do something and it looked more natural to fall out of it a certain way, then he would keep it. And he allowed the three of us Firebirds to have our own versions so that it suited our bodies and abilities best.
In a company of 80 dancers where you've got a lot of stars, and he could have picked anyone, for him to pick someone who's not a prima ballerina but a soloist, and then to pick someone black. A ballet of this magnitude, if we look in the annals of ballet, going back to Louis XIV, it's never happened before. It's monumental. The entire dance world was agog, and certainly every person of color involved in the dance world was standing up and cheering because we've been waiting for this moment.
Susan Fales Hill put together this really great group of women.
She had called me and said, Tracy, I want you to experience a really magical evening.
I invited Deborah Lee, the head of BET. I invited Marva Smalls, who's at MTV, Viacom.
Star Jones was there. There was just a myriad of incredibly accomplished black women in the room, in the box, actually. And we were all there sharing in the triumph of Misty dancing.
The makeup of the crowd was completely different than you would see on any other given day at the Met. And the power of one person to change the crowd who comes to see dance, I think that was really special.
For a black woman to be the face of American Ballet Theater's spring season at the Metropolitan Opera House, we knew that something was happening.
My manager, Gilda, was waiting for me outside, and I walked out and I looked up and I saw that the whole front of the Met was covered, and this woman with her breasts out and arched back, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's a curvy black woman on the front of the Met, and it's me. And we both cried because it meant so much for the African American community to feel welcome in that space.
When she entered the stage, and it just seemed like collectively we all kind of leaned forward, and it was just the sense of pride and joy to just see this talented, strong, graceful, amazing woman grace the stage.
She came out to give her bows at the end. It was quite amazing. There were people in the crowd who were actually crying. There was an emotional connection to her and to the fact that this is a historic performance.
To sit in that theater that night, surrounded by African-American women of accomplishment, watching a ballerina take center stage in one of the most important works, just felt like her life had come full circle.
Afterwards, they had a sort of a meet and greet set up on the stage. They had tables set up. I said to Misty, wow, I was knocked out. This is amazing. Congratulations. She had a beautiful outfit on, and she had some high heels on, and she looked perfectly fine. And she said to me, I'm in a lot of pain, Nelson. And I was like, whoa, you would never have known that by watching her. But it turned out that she'd been dancing with severe fractures in her shin.
that night I came into the theater and I was in so much pain. I didn't know how I was going to get on stage. I knew it was there, but I kind of pushed it to the side because I knew how vital that season was for me. The opportunity to do principal roles as a soloist, I didn't think was something that would come again. Knowing how much of the Black community was coming to the Met maybe for the first time to support me, I understood that I had to make it work. I knew that that night stood for something so much bigger than me and beyond what I can even imagine. So I knew that no matter what I did on the stage that night, it was going to be a historical evening. I think a dancer's pain tolerance is on another level that I have no idea if it can be compared to anyone or anything. When you're on stage and you're standing on one leg for, 5-10 minutes at a time, and you're supposed to look like a beautiful swan, and you have sweat dripping in your eye, and your butt's cramping, and your feet are cramping, and then all of a sudden you have to get up and start jumping and moving. That pain is something that every dancer deals with, and no one really talks about it.
Point shoes are uncomfortable. They hurt. Your feet, when you first learn how to dance on point, are going to bleed, sometimes through your shoes. That's unusual. Why do we do that?
As soon as dance becomes more athletic, which it has definitely become in the 21st century, the body is just beaten up way too much. Even a great dancer like Mikhail Baryshnikov, he blew his knees out from it. Like, if you jump high, you land hard.
Here she is dealing with still pain, trying to figure out, how am I going to deal with this? But, oh yeah, I'm 29 years old and I'm dealing with the end of my career. She ended up going to a doctor who works with top athletes, the New York Hospital for Special Surgery. He was the only person who was confident that you will dance again. Everyone else was telling her, your career is over.
So a diagnosis is a mid-tibia stress fracture, which occurs very commonly in jumping athletes. So the tibia bone, which is on her the mid-shaft leg bone, it takes all the stress. Instead of breaking in half, it gets a tiny little break in the cortex surface, or the outer surface of the bone. They're very slow healing. So she spent months trying to get this to heal beforehand. And then we made a decision about how to treat it. Our one decision was to put a rod. One option was to go near her knee and put a rod from here all the way down the bone into her leg, inside the bone. The nice thing about that is that it takes care of the whole thing. The disadvantage is about 20% of people have some knee pain. And she's a jumper, so you try not to mess with her knee at all. We made an incision right here on the front, and in that incision, we found the little stress fractures. We drilled across them with a needle to stimulate some bleeding. We packed the bone marrow cells in there, and then we put the plate.
When I heard the words black dreaded line fracture, it sounds like death to me. Like, hearing that word, it was like, what does that mean? It was scary. And then finding out that it meant almost a complete break through my bone. It's hard to fathom that can happen from dancing. But it was just impact over and over and over again, probably through the course of a year, that caused it. Had I continued to dance for who knows how much longer, my bone could have completely snapped in half.
The rest of the ballet world, and including, I think, her company, once they realized, the extent of her injuries, I don't think anyone truly expected her to be able to come back from that. You combine the extent of the injury with her age, the amount of wear and tear on the body. I think that they just sort of said 1 + 1 + 1 = 3, and you're not coming back. And if you do come back, you won't be able to come back and you won't be able to pick up where you left off.
In a company like ABT, the talent is endless. The second you step out for, the length of time an injury may take to recover from, you lose that window of opportunity and you may never be given the opportunity again. But there was a lot of time spent just like overanalyzing all of that. Like, what am I going to do? I felt like I was going to let down so many people who were like watching me, like, you're creating this path. And then it was like, okay, that's the end of it. It's been like 7 months since I've been working in the street. On floor bar. I still have a lot to learn.
We'll try it on the other side? Sure. If you stand at the bar the way we always do, and will continue to do, you can work your right side and your left side differently for a lifetime or until something breaks.
That's true.
That's the way it goes. Try not to sit in the standing hip. Good. As dancers, we know one leg goes up higher, one leg jumps better, the other leg balances better. Whatever that is, we need to become as symmetrical as possible. Want to start again? Don't bring it up from your quad. Really lengthen to the inner thigh.
So I was working with Marjorie maybe 2 months before I decided to have the surgery. And then Marjorie was there with me, I think 2 weeks after my surgery in my apartment, helping me, I was not walking still, and we were laying on the floor, and she was working with me until I literally couldn't anymore, just like exhausted. She's kind of been there with me, literally retraining my body in the middle of my professional career.
Hey.
Oh my god, I had no idea it started at 1. I'm here.
Oh my gosh. Sorry.
No, it's not your. You have enough to.
But I thought we said
run and some rolls to dance. I remember being in class with Michelle, like sitting on the floor of Marjorie's apartment, and I was contemplating like when I was going to go back to ABT. They were really like nudging me, like, you need to come now. And I was like, I'm not ready. Michelle Wiles started Ballet Next with Charles Askegaard, was a principal dancer with American Ballet Theater, and she was a good friend of mine. And Michelle said, why don't you do a performance with us first, and maybe you'll feel more comfortable and secure. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know. She's like, why don't you do something that's more simple, doesn't take a lot, there's no jumping, and why don't you do the Dying Swan? And I was like, that's brilliant, but I'm terrified.
Yes. Have fun, okay?
What did you think, Coach?
It's okay. I didn't fall. It just wasn't like what I'm used to. I didn't use the space like I should have. But no stumbling, so it was okay.
People liked it. It was beautiful.
Thank you. Hopefully tomorrow will feel better. That was rough.
First time in the game in a while.
First time in a year. I'm glad that's over.
Well,
Everyone gets confused who gets up on the second floor.
I did.
It's 29. I know. Every single one of my
Oh, I'm so glad I'm not the only dummy.
no, it's not that at all. I'm Nelson. I met you at the...
Yeah, I know.
I can see that. I can see that.
Tooling around on the station.
Absolutely. Beautiful.
Trying to find our way in and out.
Good.
This place so hard. I'm worried about her. You know, she doesn't worry about anything. How you were going to do everything today. Look at you. How you look.
I did the show last night and then.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Because I didn't know whether it was tonight.
It's tonight as well. Yeah.
And I thought to myself, did you hate class?
Yeah, I already took class.
I knew that would come. I don't know how she does it. You know, in my youth, I didn't have the energy she had. So sweet.
Hello, ladies. This is Raven, everyone.
I'm Raven. How's everything? Look at how was class?
It was fun. I took David Howard.
Oh, you did? But
Yeah.
I mean, the other day.
With the company.
Yeah.
It was fine. I'm going to take company class again Saturday.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
How could you get through it all, or you stopped a little?
Well, I am not jumping.
Yeah.
I'm not doing ground allegro, so I did part of it, but my meeting was like halfway through, so I had to leave early.
Yeah, and how? Oh, good. You had a good excuse.
I had a good excuse.
How was that?
It was
Just good to see you.
fine. It was kind of pointless to meet with them because I'll have more information after my doctor's appointment today.
That is so beautiful.
It's pretty swollen.
I bumped into my bed and mine looks worse than that. No, that's gorgeous.
But yeah,
What
because
work
you
did
haven't
you do?
seen me since the surgery, right?
No. No,
yeah,
and I never saw anything before. I had no idea you had
Well, you
this
couldn't
problem.
tell.
No, she dances so beautifully.
It's doing very
Yeah,
well.
look at she's so strong. Look at the ankles and the feet.
I'm getting there.
Well, he did a marvelous
He
job.
really
You
did.
know, medicine and a good doctor is an artist.
Yeah,
You know
that's
that.
true. He was most concerned with the scar more than anything else.
I was concerned because you can.
My high
no one
heels.
wants to.
What were you gonna say?
No.
Oh, tight.
No, you can cover up.
Right.
You know, I know you don't really want to, but I was much more concerned about what was going on inside.
So am I.
Yeah, but
So
it's
we'll see.
yeah. Look at you,
Still a bit
you're
sensitive,
flexing.
though.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about the very first time that I found out who you were, which to me is really crazy that it was far into my career as a professional already. And I saw the film, The Ballet Russe.
There
A lot
wasn't
of
that
books.
much said
Right.
because when I came along, the less said was the better. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, I just went as I was and who I was, but
Right.
people, they thought it wasn't nice to talk about race or I might be insulted. So a lot of it wasn't like now we have this time span and now people are very interested in people don't talk about it, and especially younger people, you know.
I mean, I think it's important to be able to discuss it because then it forces people to kind of confront the issues. But yes, the first time I saw you was in the Ballet Russe film, and I cried my eyes out because I didn't even know that a black ballerina of your level existed. And so that was kind of the start of this mission I had, you know, to learn more about black ballerinas, to try and educate other people about who you are, who Janet Collins is. And so that's kind of how this all got started.
You know, Eric Tanding, you know, when you start out the thing.
I know that's your pose, and then we were doing the signettes.
Oh,
right. Yes, we did the same. We did the same part, so it's hard for us to both.
Well, I think I've done it in other positions.
Yeah, you just. You kind of have to be ready to jump into any of the spots,
I had to go into it.
But we both, and you're used to doing the quick head switching, and oh yes, did you do that? And there's different versions.
Yeah.
And
oh my goodness. No, then you take off. Like,
oh wow.
Yeah. And then the emboîtés on the phone.
And going back to the corner.
Yeah.
Did you do the
right.
emboîtés? And
that's it. Dum, 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 dum,
and then the pas de chas, and you just.
Right.
Did you look forward or did you look over when you did the pas de chas?
No, I think we looked left.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. When you're going
the
right.
direction you're going.
And then comes the pause, and then a boîté, dum, 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 back.
And then the passes at the end. Passe.
Oh, God, yes.
Did you do the heads that
yes,
way?
yeah. Dum, 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 and then all of a sudden,
and then you let go.
Ba-dum on the knee. Let's see, and how did the hand?
We went this way and then this way.
That's it.
To finish.
Yeah.
Is that how you did it?
Yeah. Same old, same old.
Never changes.
No. The
little things here and there.
Those are fun. We don't want to lose them in the lake, so. But
it's incredible that you still remember all those little details.
Yeah, isn't it? And I mean, it's when you hear the music,
it just comes back. It's in your body.
Yeah.
Do you have it? Oh no, I got it. It's hiding. I got it.
I think I could have pulled something, but I had a back spasm.
When? Yesterday?
The first day in Rome. It
First
started.
day.
Yeah.
During the performance?
No,
or
getting into the van.
Getting into the van?
Yeah.
Come on.
That's when it happened.
Prendi quello di lei qua che ha fatto, me la porto, abbiamo una fila e non riesce a piegare la sua sinistra, non riesce a fare arabesque. When did it happen?
2 days ago.
2 giorni fa.
Was
Ieri
the
sera è stata la serata peggiore, non riusciva neanche a respirare.
It feels also like my sacrum or something.
Ha detto che le fa male fino all'osso sacro e ha come l'impressione che l'osso sacro sia bloccatino in corpo.
No. Yeah. Yes.
di più. Relax. Dolore? Mettiamoci sul fianco.
Okay, now on your side, in destra.
La faccia lì.
Yeah, towards him on your right side.
Dolore? Hai dolore? Pain?
Do you have pain?
Yes.
Sì.
Ok. Posso?
Grazie.
Dolore?
Pain?
Yes.
Sì. There. Lì.
Yes, same place.
Ma è ancora allo stesso punto.
Ok. Vediamo come va. Domani ancora? Sì, bene. C'è il ragazzo che parlava inglese, non riesco a farmi vedere.
Dopo, prima? Yes. Ok. Per la vetta prima. Something on like So Titus.
Except for these two ladies right there. Okay? Well, no, she's with you, that's fine. I'm not worried about that. Oh, no, you stay here. I know that was your daughter. Are they with you? Okay, no, if they're with you, that's fine. I know it's your daughter. Misty, do me a favor. I'm gonna have to just move back. Just move back a little bit.
Brilliant performance. Thank you. Thank you.
My daughter Allison, she took a picture with you when she was 4. Oh, and that's on the other side. That's you and her. Oh my God. 14 years ago, and she's always wanted to meet you, and here she is right here. Oh my God. Can I take a picture? I think you're 12,
I remember telling her not too long ago, with everything that's happening, the book deals, the Under Armour endorsement, the Coach deal, just everything that's going on, the Diet Dr. Pepper, the speaking engagements, I understand that principle is what you're aiming for. But what I think we've built is so much bigger than that, what we have is not something that ABT or anyone else can take away from you. And whereas before you felt very alone, you've got the world on your side. So for all intents and purposes, you've won. You've won. Whether you become, because in people's minds, she is the principal. She is the star.
I cannot tell you how many black men I know who I think they'd rather go to Iraq, have a relationship conversation, or have root canal than go see a ballet. But suddenly they saw an interview with Misty and they're like, are you involved with ABT? Can I come see a performance? They're following her career. They email me things about her. That's sort of the hormonal contingent. When she gets people in the theater, people are actually moved by the art form and realize this isn't a bunch of boring people in tutus. It's exciting. It's raw. It's sexy. It's alive. It's about the stuff of human life.
Ultimate goal is to bring people of all backgrounds to ballet. People who never saw themselves sitting inside the Metropolitan Opera House, making them feel welcome.
But you told me it's next summer.
I know. I got prepared when I came home. I know.
Are you really in this?
No, I haven't been yet. I just see it.
That'll be the second time that happened. We went out and you heard about that one. What's your name?
You can read your name from it too. I was like, interesting. I really don't do anything crazy. I know it's much, right? Oh my God. This is amazing. Like, we were just talking about you. It's like, no, and I'm like, I was like, I literally see her everywhere on Facebook. Everyone is like, look at this. You're like, okay. I'm like, yeah. see him work, girl. See him work.
Congratulations. You're larger than life. Now you literally are larger than life. We're all so proud of you, and you will what you want. Cheers. Misty. Thank you guys.
I did exactly what you told me not to do.
You're doing very hard for yourself. You're doing good. Yes. And then I will say, go in and go there. Not finish at there. And then we will go.
It's a major coup, I think, that ABT has recently cast Misty to play Odette Odile in Swan Lake, one of the most iconic ballets in the classical repertoire. If people think ballet, they think Swan Lake, but they don't usually think of a black, white swan.